Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. This is Ryan Wolf with Wolf Woodworking. I wanted to do a video today on the review of the Laguna Fusion 2 table saw. I've had this saw for about 2 years now. I've done a lot of cuts and a lot of projects on it. I feel it was time for me to do a review with my experience on it to share with anyone who's looking to upgrade or change their current table saw and maybe getting a Laguna Fusion table saw. I'll give you my pros and cons on it, again with my experience, to give you more information if this is the right table saw for you. So let's get into it. One of the first things I wanted to highlight as to me, a very big pro of this table is the fence. This fence is incredibly durable. It has this really tight locking handle here that over 2 years of pressing really thick and really big hardwoods through this at times, this fence has not budged and has not moved on a single project I've done. This thing is rock solid and has never moved. You can see I have these playing cards in here. I recently put these in. There was a discrepancy in my squaring up of the fence recently that I had to adjust. These are shims I put in to make the fence a perfect 90 degree. That was just recently done. So for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years, this was a perfectly square fence every time I checked it. So no big deal to me. It was a quick couple minutes and we're good to go. The other pro to this is that the alignment portions here, let me take this out real quick. So these have always stayed true as well. Over 2 years, I have probably adjusted this 4 or 5 times, which is once or twice a year, which is not a big deal. If it says it's 8 inches on this one here, it is 8 inches to a T. It is perfect. So the fence on this thing is a very big pro. It works incredibly well. Another pro to me for this table saw is just the construction itself. It's incredibly durable and stable when in use. The top is cast iron. It is very rigid, very solid. The bottom is, I believe it's aluminum, but it's hollow cabinet construction that holds very well. It seems like it would be top heavy. When I first got it, I was a little concerned it would be top heavy. It is not at all. When I am pushing through material through this, it does not move. It has never moved, and I have pushed some pretty big, thick pieces of wood through it and have not had an issue. So another pro is just the construction and stability of the saw itself. Okay, I wanted to go over the miter or the angle cuts on this saw. So this knob here, this wheel, raises and lowers the actual saw blade. And it does go down, as you probably saw earlier, all the way under the table. So it hides it perfectly, which is great. And then this one over here actually adjusts the angle. It has an angle read right here, a digital angle read, where you can zero it and set it as you'd like. So right now it's both on my little gauge here, magnetically connected to the saw blade, and here at 0. So I wanted to see, it's usually pretty evenly matched when you turn it. So let's turn this to 45 degrees all the way, and then we'll see what the actual gauge reads and see how much they are in sync. So you can see it goes all the way 0 to 45, and even we'll go a little past so you can adjust. So let's go to 45 on the nose, and then here you can see it's upside down, but it does say 45. So this is 45.2, and I just changed this, and this says 45.1. So you can see there are some discrepancies, and this thing to me is usually way more accurate. So I tend to go off that when I'm doing it. So that's just another thing where This is pretty accurate. I never really relied on that anyway. I always use that, but it is there. It's fairly accurate. If you go to 45 even, this is 45 even. So, you know, at least there it seems to be on the money. Okay, so next I wanted to talk about the biggest con to this table saw, and frankly it is one of the biggest issues I have with this saw, and it's Laguna's dust collection inside this saw. As you can see here, what I did was I cleaned this out before my last project, which was building about 3 drawers and 5 cabinets for a kitchen island. So a pretty standard project, nothing too crazy. It had plywood, MDF, I think some pine or poplar for trim. So it's a pretty standard project, and I wanted to show what the dust collection is or isn't on this thing when you're doing a standard project. So I'll bring it in here a little closer. Sorry for all the movement, but I wanted to get it in so you can see. So this is the top by the motor and the actual saw section. You can see it's just completely caked in dust. And inside the cabinet, you can see in here, let me try to get in there. It is all just a mound, a pile of dust. That is probably, here, let me clear a little section out so we can see how much is actually in there. It's probably a couple inches, so let's see here. So you can see, well, that didn't really help, but it's about 1.5 inches of dust, and then it piles up in the corner there. It's on the hose, and it's just everywhere. And what happens is when all that dust is in there and you turn on the saw, even if you have the saw height match your material, so the saw blade isn't coming out of the material and kicking up a lot of dust, it still does that. It finds its way, when this is sitting on here, it still kicks up dust through this hole to pop this out. It comes out of here and it just kicks it up into the air. So it's supposed to be caught by this section here. Let me get the light. So it is supposed to, the kerf is supposed to catch the wood and put it inside this receptacle here, which then this shoots down into this hose here and comes down the side and then comes out here. You can attach 2 different pieces there. I taped off the one end so it would catch out of there. Now you're probably wondering what's that big hole there. Well, when I first got it, as you can see, the dust collection was so bad that I put a hole the size of my hose in there to catch more material, and it did nothing. It caught about 2 inches in front of that, and all this buildup still happened. So you can combat the top of this with the piece that comes with the saw. The big, there's a big overhead piece that extracts dust from here. But when I used it, it really hindered I honestly felt like my safety when I was using it. It really, if a piece gets caught or stuck, you're really restricted on how you can then start troubleshooting and fix that situation. It blocks so much real estate up here from you working, whereas with just this and the riding knife, you have way more control. So that is a factor. And I know I use this rigid. I use 2 rigid vacuums that are very powerful for extracting the dust. It's just so much gets built up that the filter gets built up, and I need to get a cyclone system to combat that as well. But the issue is just there's so much being missed from taken into this port that actually catches the dust that it almost doesn't matter what you have hooked up to their pre-made collection system, that it almost doesn't matter. There's just so much being missed because of, however, I mean, this could be the same way in every saw. I don't have a saw stop. This could be a known issue with everything, but for this one specifically, the dust collection is so bad. And I also have a 1412, Laguna 1412 bandsaw that also has very poor dust collection. It's a big issue. So when I'm working with this, I have a big fan behind me blowing out, so pushing outside the garage. So it's even pushing dust behind me out away from me, and with this there's still dust that gets inside the garage. And if anyone, I'm sure, is in the same boat as me, is that the most frustrating thing in woodworking is, on top of mistakes, is the dust. And this table saw is, for me, has not been great with dust collection, to the point of whenever I go to get a new one, I will more than likely be getting a saw stop and not a Laguna, because the dust collection is so frustrating. And I have to take time and clean this out after every project. And it's just incredible waste of time. And there's so many nooks and crannies under here to get to, and so much dust hides. And so that's my biggest con on this, is the dust collection. And even when I've tried to make new ports for it and all that, it just doesn't work out well. So that's it for my review of the Laguna Fusion 2 table saw. I wanted it to be quick. I didn't want to drag on too much about it, but it's a very good table saw. I do have a really big issue with the dust collection. That's for me. I'm sure there's people out there who can do it better than I can with the dust collection, have better solutions. But for me, in my situation, the dust collection is just a huge problem. But there are a lot of really good aspects to this. Again, the motor is strong, the fence is great, it's durable. So it is a great saw, and especially if you're upgrading like I did from like a rigid table saw that I did a video on, it is leaps and bounds ahead of that. Now, while it's not the best, in my opinion, it's certainly not the worst. And it's a really good, for me, like where I was going from like a weekend warrior type of DIY person to I do woodworking full time. This for now is really good. I will be upgrading in the future for sure, but it certainly does get the job done. It's very reliable. So for that, it's a really good saw. So as always, I hope this was helpful. Any questions you have that maybe you thought about during the video that I didn't get to, I will answer them to the best of my knowledge. So just throw them in the comments and I will do my best to help you out. So hope you enjoyed it and have a great rest of your day.